Good afternoon. Welcome to the 1,638th meeting of the Board of Trustees, Metropolitan Sewer District.
You know what we'll do? Let's do roll
Roll call.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer? Yes. Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes. Okay. Ready to take a vote to go into a closed session to discuss personal actions under 160.021.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
All right, we're in closed session.
We're in closed session. I get a motion go from closed session to public session?
So move.
The second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we're back in open session.
All right, could I get approval of the journal of preceding meeting, September the 10th, 2020?
So moved.
Second.
All vote by use sign.
Aye.
Aye.
Did I get approval of the special board meeting, September the 29th, 2020?
So move.
Second.
All vote by the usual sign.
Aye.
Okay. No comments by the chair. Report of board committees. Program management.
Yep.
Trustee Evans.
Thank you. Trustee Evans reported that the Program Management Committee met on September 1, 2020 at 8:03 a.m. The meeting was attended by Trustees Evans, Yates, Wilson, and Fair, and Singer via online. The minutes of the August 4, 2020 meeting were approved. The agenda items to be introduced tonight were presented and discussed, including a detailed discussion regarding the following items. Ordinance number 15496, Lee May Pump Station Sluice Gate Replacement. Staff discussed this unplanned supplemental appropriation to an existing project being constructed by KCI Construction. The funding is needed to provide an additional $350,000 for repair costs or damage caused during the January 18, 2020 rain event and power outage. Expedited repairs were needed to keep the pump station and treatment plant in regulatory compliance. Ordinance numbers 15497 and 15498. Staff provided details of two CSO volume reduction green infrastructure grants being awarded to reduce combined sewer overflows to the Mississippi River and River to Pear per the consent decree. Staff provided details of the grants being awarded to the Preservation Square and Good Shepherd Infant and Toddler Center for the construction of volume-reducing bioretention basins and pervious pavement on the properties. Ordinance numbers 15503 and 15504. That is my mistake. Yes. All right, well, I apologize for reading from the wrong document, but I'll start over. Okay, the Program Management Committee met on September 29, 2020 at 7:45 a.m. The meeting was attended by Trustees Evans, Yates, and Wilson. Fair and Singer attended online. The minutes of the September 1, 2020 meeting were approved. The agenda items to be produced tonight were presented and discussed, including a detailed discussion of the following items. Ordinance number 15513, Upper Maline Sanitary Relief Phase 4. Staff discussed this unplanned supplemental appropriation to an existing project being constructed by J&J Boring. The funding is needed to provide an additional $750,000 for costs related to utility relocations, additional tunnel shaft, poor soil conditions, and an alternative tunneling methods in lieu of additional dewatering. Ordinance number 15514, CSO Mary Avenue Interceptor Elimination. Staff discussed the appropriation of funds as part of intergovernmental agreement with the Missouri Department of Transportation. The intergovernmental agreement was previously authorized by ordinance number 15378 in March 2020. Staff gave an overview of the project known as Brentwood Bound and the district's coordination on the project, which will allow for the construction of portions of this project to be built by MoDOT and the city of Brentwood. This ordinance will allow for the reimbursement of up to $1.3 million to MoDOT for constructing a portion of this project as part of the road reconstruction work. Ordinance number 15519, Lower Merrimack System Improvements. Baumgardner to Fenton Tunnel. Staff provided the details and purpose of this tunnel project being awarded to SAK Construction. The project will have multiple appropriations over several years. There was discussion between staff and the committee regarding two of the bidders being found non-responsive to the MWBE requirements for failure to respond to post-bid information requests. Staff recommended proceeding with the contract to SAK. Staff presented details of several general service agreement contracts for engineering support services for renewal. Ordinance numbers 15527 to 15529 will provide for supplemental funding for 3 geotechnical service contracts. Ordinance numbers 15536 to 15540 will provide for supplemental funding for 5 survey services contracts. And ordinance number 15530 provides for funding for landscape design support. All these contracts support internal staff design with the ultimate design and delivery of consent decree and asset management projects. Staff also presented details on new general service agreement contracts for property appraisal services. Ordinance numbers 15531 to 15534 will provide supplemental funding for 4 property appraisal services contracts. There was a brief discussion regarding the lump sum payments for the contracts and previous incumbency of the selected firms. Ordinance number 15545, emergency repair number 064. Staff provided detailed information on this emergency repair sewer project located in University City. The executive director declared the emergency on September 10th and notified the board on September 14, 2020. Staff updated the committee on the progress of the repair work and requested introduction and adoption of the contract and appropriation of $300,000 at the October 8, 2020 board meeting. The next committee meeting is tentatively scheduled for November 3rd, 2020. The meeting will adjourn at 8:42 a.m.
Thank you very much, Trustee Evans. Trustee Farrer, may we have the finance report?
Yes, this is the Finance Committee report from September 29th, 2020. The Finance Committee met on September 29th, 2020 with Trustees Fair, Yates, Wilson, Evans, and Singer in attendance. The minutes from the September 1st, 2020 meeting were approved. The first item on the agenda was a report by staff on the district's operating fund portfolio as of September 28th, 2020. Staff indicated that the portfolio is in compliance with the district's investment policy. Staff then gave an update on the wastewater system revenue bond, Series 2020A. Series 2020A bonds were issued for approximately $22 million, and the proceeds will be used to fund the Deer Creek Sanitary Tunnel Pump Station project. The financing rate of 1.3% on the 20-year bonds is the lowest MSD has received on an SRF loan. Next on the agenda was an ordinance that authorizes staff to issue the wastewater system improvement bond, Series 2020B, and authorizes district officials to execute necessary documents. The Series 2020B bonds will be issued for approximately $135 to $150 million and contains parameters relating to the maximum principal amount, purchase price, final maturity date, issuance costs, and relevant terms of the issuance to reduce the need for special board meeting to approve final terms. The 2020B bonds will be sold as a competitive deal. This is ordinance number 15546 on tonight's agenda. The next item discussed on the agenda pertained to a staff request to exercise the second of 4 optional 1-year contract extensions with Milliman to provide actuarial services. This will be resolution number 3620 on tonight's agenda. The meeting adjourned at 9:10 a.m. The next tentatively scheduled meeting is Tuesday, November 3rd, 2020. This concludes the Finance Committee report.
Thank you, Trustee Farrer. Trustee Wilson, may we have the Stakeholders Committee meeting report?
Okay, yes. Stakeholders Relations Committee meeting, board comments report, September 29, 2020. The Stakeholder Relations Committee met at district headquarters on Tuesday, September 29, 2020 at approximately 9:10 a.m. Those present at the meeting included Chairperson Wilson, Trustee Evans, Yates, as well as district directors and staff, and participating by video web call were Trustees Fair and Singer. Chairperson Wilson called roll and had no further comments. By motion of all trustees, the minutes of the September 1st, 2020 Stakeholder Committee meeting minutes were approved. The first agenda item was a discussion by Susan Myers regarding an ordinance for a collection of excess proceeds from land tax sales. This ordinance authorizes a contract, Beck Ostrom Suite LLC, to collect excess proceeds from properties sold at the St. Louis City and St. Louis County tax sale auction. This is ordinance number 1550 on tonight's agenda. The next agenda item was a presentation of the Diversity Annual Report by Shauna Paradis. Shauna's presentation summarized the MBE, WBE utilization and workforce metrics of MSD's capital improvement replacement and small contractor infrastructure repairs program for fiscal year 2020. Shauna then provided an update on MSD's Community Benefits Program and status of programs and goals, as well as an update regarding the disparity study and timeline of communications and meetings. There's no board action required at this time. Next on the agenda, Brian Holscher discussed the process for electing the vice chair for the Board of Trustees. Brian walked through the board action that will occur at the end of tonight's meeting to vote on and elect the Board of Trustees vice chair position, which is currently vacant due to the term of Trustee Fall expiring. The position must be held by a city trustee, and therefore the vote will be cast to the 3 county trustees. The nominee appointed will hold the position until March 2021, at which time the position, along with the Board of Trustees chair position, will be voted on for the next 2-year term. The next agenda item was a discussion by Tim Snoke regarding an ordinance for bond election authorization. This ordinance authorizes the district to file the necessary paperwork with both the city and the county board of elections to place a $500 million bond authorization proposition before the voters on the April 6, 2021 ballot. This is ordinance number 15547 on tonight's agenda. The last item was a discussion by Brian Holscher regarding an ordinance for charter plan amendment ballot initiative. This ordinance will authorize amendments to be placed before the voters at an election to be held on April 6, 2021 to modernize and streamline the district's governing charter plan. Brian reviewed the items that were in question in a previous committee meeting by the trustees and discussed the revised language as recommended by the board. This is ordinance number 15548 and 15549 on tonight's agenda. The meeting was then adjourned at approximately 10:25 a.m. by Trustee Wilson. The next meeting date is tentatively scheduled for Tuesday, November 3rd, 2020. And a revised date will be discussed later, as this date may conflict with the national election occurring on the same day.
Thank you, Trustee Wilson. Next on the agenda is the comments from the public. I want everybody to know that the normal protocol is when you speak, you have 5 minutes. We're going to keep time. At the end of 5 minutes, this gavel goes down and the next person speaking go to the podium. All right, we got Michael Murphy.
Good evening, board members. I'm Mike Murphy. I am the union representative for SEIU Local 1. We represent the employees in the pump station and treatment plants. We've been in bargaining since early mid-February. We went up through March 17th, and then COVID hit. So there was some delays in getting dates scheduled. We eventually went back and were bargaining through Microsoft Teams. And eventually, because of us being at odds, we ended up with FMCS running the meeting through their program. SEIU has requested and was provided the rate commission report. And 4 years ago, the rate commission recommended about a 3-point-something raise. The district was bargaining at that time for a wellness program. We decided as joint bargaining with AFSCME that that was not something our members were interested in, especially because there was not a plan in place. Nobody knew what we were really buying. And we were able to bargain to get the raise, the aggregate raise that rate commission report provided. Our goal this time was to do the same. Right now, there is about 45% of the eligible district employees that have the plan, the wellness program. About 48% of that is on the C schedule. There is roughly 160 67 out of roughly 345 that take it. On the BT schedule, there is 17 out of 62. That 17 out of 62 is about 27%. Again, we don't believe it's a program that our members are interested in. I also think the numbers show that a majority of the district employees aren't interested in it. The last, this time on the offer that we voted, the district offered us 2.2% with some other program changes and other changes in the contract. That offer was rejected by over 90% of the memberships of AFSCME and SEIU. It actually was about 94%. We scheduled another meeting and went back to the table. When we did, we were saying, our members told us at the ratification, wellness is not something we're interested in. Cost is about 1%. We offered to split that 1% with the district, put 2.75 into a wage increase, and the district keep the other 0.5%. We were told no, that's not an option. The numbers that are in with what the district's participation is, says the wellness program isn't as successful as we were led to believe. In bargaining, we were told the numbers were closer to 60% participation. Isn't anywhere near that, it's 45. And when we were bargaining this time, they said part of the reason they couldn't give us more is because of our step increases on the B schedule. Again, the rate commission report had BT and B both on the same schedule with step increases. While the trades come in one step below the top scale and in 6 months move to the top of the scale. On the rate commission's report, it has this group together. They had said it would be a 2% increase with an aggregate of 3.3. The people in the steps, I believe, were about a 3.6. Again, 4 years ago when we bargained, we were able to do the 3 point, whatever the percent was. That's what our members were looking for this time. We're asking, when we hit the last bargaining session, we thought we were breaking for another scheduled session, and we received a letter from the district saying further bargaining they believe is futile, and that they would be implementing that offer. We've come to the table this whole time.
5 minutes, you're up, Mike.
All right. Reiterate.
Hey, Tim, was there some names on that letter?
We do. We received a letter from, I think, 7 different employees. And I was going to read the names of the people who submitted the letter and the body of the letter. I understand we might have somebody else who's reading the letter.
I'm not going to read it to you, but
All right, so,
I'm just going to make a comment.
all right, would you like me to read the?
You read the names and
All right, the names of the people that submitted the letter, these are all members of SEIU Local 1. It was Matt Baker, a maintenance mechanic 2. Chris Bigler, pump station journeyman. Tom Brown, a painter. David W. Green, a warehouse technician. Paul Hampton, a pump station maintenance tech. Brian Proffer, a pump station tech. And John Smiley, a team leader.
all right, thank you. All right, the next speaker is Danny, was that Holman?
Yep, just ho,
Ho, huh?
ho, man.
All right, you're on the clock.
I'm on the clock. My name's Dan Holman. I'm president of AFSCME Council 61. I actually live in Urbandale, Iowa, and had a lovely drive down here today. There was a letter that was sent to Brett in response to the letter that he sent to us. The only reason I'm here, we're here today, Mike and I, to ask this board of trustees to tell the district to come back to the table and get a deal. We're 0.15% apart. In my world, 0.15%, you can't hardly count. That's a nickel. That's $100 a year. And for that nickel, you get employees who are not upset with you for implementing an offer that they dang near unanimously rejected, because it wasn't just SEIU at 94%. ASME members that work for you were at 94%, and we have the largest bargaining unit. When you got 94% or 94% of them saying no, they don't want the offer, that's a significant amount. You gave the trades 2.4%. The folks that I represent in this district go out every day on the front lines servicing the people that you provide service to. And you're telling me they're not worth what the trades are worth? If that's the message you want to send to the employees that work for you, I believe that's a mistake. So we're asking, both Mike and I are asking, that we sit down and we try to figure out how to bridge that gap. 5 cents, $100 a year per employee. Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Brian, you want?
No, just go ahead.
All right, now your concerns have been heard by the Board of Trustees here, and we're going to get together with the staff of MSD and see what we can do with that, okay? Your concerns have been heard. Consent agenda.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. The consent agenda tonight is items 11 through 26. Is there any board member who would like to pull an item for a separate vote? Hearing none, is there a motion for adoption?
So move.
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
yes,
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
All right, we'll then move to new business and ordinances, starting with item 27, the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15513, making a supplemental appropriation of $750,000 from the Sanitary Replacement Fund to be used for sanitary sewer construction and Upper Maline Trunk Sanitary Release Phase 4, Section B project in the cities of Berkeley, Kinloch, and Unincorporated St. Louis County, and authorizing the district to appropriate additional funds to a contract with J&J Boring. Is there a motion for introduction?
So move.
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
yes,
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Item 28 is the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15514, appropriating $1.3 million from the Sanitary Replacement Fund for intergovernmental agreement reimbursement for sanitary sewer construction in the CSO Mary Avenue south of Manchester CSO Interceptor Outfall Elimination Phase 1 project in the city of Brentwood, and authorizing the district to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the Missouri Department of Transportation Commission. Is there a motion for introduction?
So move.
Second.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
yes,
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Item 29 is the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15515, authorizing the district to enter into an agreement with the Affordable City Homes of St. Louis Incorporated for cost sharing for green infrastructure construction, the CSO volume reduction green infrastructure St. Henry's Place project in the city of St. Louis. Is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
yes,
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Item 30 is the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15516, making a supplemental appropriation of $15 million from the Sanitary Replacement Fund to be used for sanitary sewer construction in the Deer Creek Sanitary Tunnel Project in the cities of Clayton, Richmond Heights, Brentwood, Maplewood, Webster Groves, and Shrewsbury, and authorizing the district to appropriate additional funds to a contract with SAK Construction. Is there a motion for introduction?
So move.
Second.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
yes,
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Item 31 is the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15517, making a supplemental appropriation of $6.8 million from the Sanitary Replacement Fund to be used for sanitary sewer rehabilitation in the Graveway Trunk Sanitary Rehabilitation Project in the cities of Belleville, Crestwood, Green Park, Grantwood Village, and unincorporated St. Louis County, and authorizing the district to appropriate additional funds to a contract with SAK Construction. Is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Item 32 is the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15518, appropriating $2.2 million from the Sanitary Replacement Fund to be used for sanitary sewer rehabilitation and infrastructure repairs Contract A in the city of St. Louis and various municipalities in St. Louis County and unincorporated St. Louis County, and authorizing the district to enter into a contract with Insituform Technologies USA. Is there a motion for introduction?
So move.
Second.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Item 33, the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15519, making an appropriation of $32 million from the Sanitary Replacement Fund to be used for sanitary sewer construction, the Lower Merrimack River Systems Improvement, Baumgartner to Fenton Wastewater Treatment Facility Tunnel Project in the cities of Sunset Hills and Fenton and unincorporated St. Louis County, and authorizing the district to enter into a contract with SAK Construction. Is there a motion for introduction?
So
So
moved.
move. Second.
Thank you. Ms. Fair?
Abstain.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
All right, the item passes introduction. Item 34 is the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15520, making an appropriation of $1.75 million from the Sanitary Replacement Fund to be used for sanitary sewer rehabilitation in Lower Merrimack Tunnel I&I Source Reduction Project in unincorporated St. Louis County, and authorizing the district to enter into a contract with SAK Construction. Is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Item 35 is the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15521, making an appropriation of $1.15 million from the Sanitary Replacement Fund to be used for pump station improvements in the Riverport 6 Pump Station Rehabilitation Project in unincorporated St. Louis County, and authorizing the district to enter into a contract with Kelp Contracting. Is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Item 36 is the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15522, making an appropriation of $1.77 million from the Sanitary Replacement Fund to be used for pump station improvements in the Spirit of St. Louis 2 Pump Station Replacement Project in the city of Chesterfield, and authorizing the district to enter into a contract with L. Keeley Construction. Is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Item 37, the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15523, making an appropriation of $165,000 from the district-wide stormwater fund to be used for storm sewer construction in the Weatherby Drive Storm Sewer Project in unincorporated St. Louis County, and authorizing the district to enter into a contract with Fred M. Luth and Sons. Is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Item 38 is the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15524, making an appropriation of $90,000 from the district-wide stormwater fund to be used for storm sewer construction in the Wilborn Drive number 5361 storm sewer project in the city of Jennings, and authorizing the district to enter into a contract with Enterprise Sewer and Drain. Is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Item 39 is the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15525, declaring the necessity for the acquisition of easements and temporary easements and certain real property within the district for the purpose of construction of sewers and related appurtenances in the project known as Geyer Sanitary Relief and Windsor Springs P521 Storage in the cities of Kirkwood and Sunset Hills to serve the needs of residents of the area, and authorizing staff to proceed with further condemnation efforts related to the project. Is there a motion for introduction?
So move.
Thank you. Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Item 40 is the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15526, making a supplemental appropriation of $200,000 from the Sanitary Replacement Fund to be used for general engineering services and the General Services Agreement Facility and Sewer Design Contract B project at various locations within the district, and authorizing the district to amend a contract with GHD Inc. Is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Item 41 is the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15527, making a supplemental appropriation of $85,000 from the Sanitary Replacement Fund to be used for general geotechnical services and the General Services Agreement, Geotechnical Contract A project in various locations within the district, and authorizing the district to amend a contract with Geotechnology, Inc. Is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
All right, I actually missed that one. That one, as well as the next three, are all part of general services agreements for geotechnical services. So if there's no objections, I'd like to group the next three of items 42 through 44. I'll read through them each, and then we'll take one vote on the lot. Hearing no objections, I'll start with item 42, the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15528, making a supplemental appropriation of $85,000 from the Sanitary Replacement Fund to be used for general geotechnical services in the General Services Agreement Geotechnical Contract B project in various locations throughout the district, and authorizing the district to enter into a contract, to amend a contract with Terracon Consultants. Item 43 is the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15529, making a supplemental appropriation of $85,000 from the district-wide stormwater fund to be used for general geotechnical services in the General Services Agreement Geotechnical Contract C project at various locations within the district, and authorizing the district to amend a contract with Wrights and Gens. And item 44 is the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15530, making a supplemental appropriation of $200,000. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. That one, 44 is not included in that. So for items 42 through 43, is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
All right, now item 44, the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15530, making a supplemental appropriation of $200,000 from the general fund to be used for general landscape design services in the General Services Agreement Landscape Design Project throughout the district service area, and authorizing the district to amend a contract with DTLS, Inc. Is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
All right, so items 45 through 48 are all for general services agreements for property appraisals. So if there's no objection, I'd like to group those. Hearing no objection, item 45 is the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15531, making an appropriation of $75,000 from the general fund to be used for property appraisal services in the General Services Agreement Property Appraisal Contract A project at various locations in the district, and authorizing the district to enter into a contract with Real Estate Analysts Limited. Item 46 is the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15532, making an appropriation of $75,000 from the general fund to be used for property appraisal services in the General Services Agreement Property Appraisal Contract B project at various locations within the district, and authorizing the district to enter into a contract with Mueller and Neff Real Estate Appraisers and Consultants. Item 47, excuse me, is the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15533, making an appropriation of $75,000 from the general fund to be used for property appraisal services in the General Services Agreement Property Appraisal Contract C project at various locations within the district, and authorizing the district to enter into a contract with Volkert, Inc. And item 48 is the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15534, making an appropriation of $75,000 from the general fund to be used for property appraisal services in the General Services Agreement Property Appraisal Contract D project at various locations within the district, and authorizing the district to enter into a contract with Prezada Appraisal Services. So for items 45 through 48, is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Item 49, introduction of proposed ordinance number 15535, making an appropriation of $100,000 from the Sanitary Replacement Fund and $100,000 from the district-wide stormwater fund to be used for general engineering services in the General Services Agreement Sewer and Channel Design Contract A project at various locations within the district, and authorizing the district to enter into a contract with H.R. Green. Is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
All right, looks like we have one more grouping, items 50 through 54. They're all general services agreements for survey services. If there's no objection, I'd like to group those. Hearing no objection, item 50 is the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15536, making a supplemental appropriation of $50,000 from the district-wide stormwater fund to be used for general surveying services in the General Services Agreement Survey Services Contract A project at various locations within the district, and authorizing the district to amend a contract with Sabre, Inc. Item 51 is the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15537, making a supplemental appropriation of $50,000 excuse me, from the Sanitary Replacement Fund to be used for general surveying services in the General Services Agreement Survey Services Contract B project at various locations within the district, and authorizing the district to amend a contract with Volz Incorporated. Item 52 is the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15538, making a supplemental appropriation of $50,000 from the district-wide stormwater fund to be used for general surveying services in the General Services Agreement Survey Services Contract C project at various locations within the district, and authorizing the district to amend a contract with Civil Design, Inc. Item 53 is the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15539, making a supplemental appropriation of $50,000 from the Sanitary Replacement Fund to be used for general surveying services in the General Services Agreement Survey Services Contract D project at various locations within the district, and authorizing the district to amend a contract with the Sterling Company. And item 54 is the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15540, making a supplemental appropriation of $50,000 from the Sanitary Replacement Fund to be used for general surveying services In the general services agreement, survey services contract E project at various locations within the district and authorizing the district to amend a contract with David Masons and Associates. So for items 50 through 54, is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Item 55 is the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15541, making a supplemental appropriation of $750,000 from the Sanitary Replacement Fund to be used for design of sanitary tunnel in Lower Merrimack River System improvements, Baumgartner and Fenton wastewater treatment facility tunnel project in the cities of Fenton and Sunset Hills and unincorporated St. Louis County, and authorizing the district to amend a contract with HDR Engineering. Is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Item 56 is the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15542, making a supplemental appropriation of $2.4 million from the Sanitary Replacement Fund to be used for design of expansion and improvements in the Lower Merrimack wastewater treatment facility, expansion phase 2 project in unincorporated St. Louis County, and authorizing the district to amend a contract with HDR Engineering. Is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Item 57 is the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15543, making a supplemental appropriation of $200,000 from the Sanitary Replacement Fund to be used for design of sanitary sewers and pump station elimination, the New England Town Cliff Cave Pump Station Improvement Project in unincorporated St. Louis County, and authorizing the district to amend a contract with the Sterling Company. Is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Item 58 is the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15544, making an appropriation of $400,000 from the Sanitary Replacement Fund to be used for design in the White Plains Sanitary Relief Project in the city of Chesterfield, and authorizing the district to enter into a contract with Lockmuller Group. Is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
All right, item 59 is the introduction and adoption of proposed ordinance number 15545, appropriating $300,000 from the emergency fund to be used for emergency repair in the emergency repair number 064 project in the city of University City, and authorizing the district to enter into an emergency construction contract with J.H. Barrett Construction Company. Is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Do I hear an objection to the suspension of the rule? Hearing none, is there a motion for adoption?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
All right. Item 60 is the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15546, authorizing and directing the issuance, sale, and delivery of wastewater system revenue bond series 2020B of the Metropolitan St. Louis Sewer District, prescribing the form and details of said bonds, and authorizing certain actions and documents and prescribing other matters relating thereto. Is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Item 61 is the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15547 with an emergency clause calling a bond election to be held on April 6, 2021 in the Metropolitan St. Louis Sewer District on the proposition of whether to issue $500 million principal amount of sewer revenue bonds. Is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
I'll take that as a motion and second. Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
All right. So the next two items are related. They're both related to the Plan Amendment Commission. We discussed these in the committee. Staff has divided the Plan Amendment ballot into issue into two separate ordinances. The first vote will be on all the recommendations as we discussed at the last committee meeting, except for the removal of the word public from the civil service disciplinary hearings language. And the second ordinance will be a vote just on the removal of the word public from the civil service disciplinary hearing. At that second introduction, I will ask if there's any discussion on the item before I ask for a vote. So on the first item, item 62, the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15548 with an emergency clause calling for an election for April 6, 2021 in the Metropolitan St. Louis Sewer District for the purpose of submitting to the qualified voters of said district propositions to amend the plan or charter of the district and authorizing the election authorities of the city of St. Louis and St. Louis County to conduct said election, prescribing the form of propositions to be used and providing that notice of said election to be given and said election be held in accordance with all applicable Missouri law. Is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
All right, then on the second item, item 63, that's the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15549 with an emergency clause proposing a change to Proposition 1 of the official ballot for the special election on April 6, 2021 in the Metropolitan St. Louis Sewer District as it's currently described in Exhibit C of Ordinance 15548. Is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
Second.
And thank you, Ms. Fair. Oh, I'm sorry. Before we vote, is there any discussion?
Well, yeah, I'd like to say, I mean, if I understand what Tim has said, which I think I do, that item 61 is to delete the word public from the recommendation of the Charter Commission, which pertains to that the Charter Commission recommended that disciplinary matters before the MSD Civil Service Commission not be public, which is currently in the charter. And that, just like to state, I oppose that recommendation of the Charter Commission because of the policies and the statutory language in the Missouri Sunshine Act and the correct balance that I think St. Louis County has taken in the interest of employees and MSD as an employer in avoiding personal matters being disclosed to the public as opposed to all disciplinary proceedings. So that's why I would, I favor item 63, 15549.
Okay, so
Let's, Trustee Singer,
Yes.
I want to make sure, because I think I want to make sure we understood correctly. This introduction is to add, if you vote yes, the term public will be removed.
correct.
Correct? If you vote no, the term public. Say it again. Help me out here, guys.
Will remain.
If the vote is no, if it does not pass, the word public will remain.
That's the way
I
Tim
wanna make sure we
explained
got
it.
Okay? Did I say that correctly? And I probably messed it up, Mr. Singer, Trustee Singer. I apologize. I thought I heard
No,
you say
I'm
something
glad
different.
you clarified it. I really am. It's a little confusing.
Is there any further discussion? All right, then I am going to call for the vote on this item. Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Well, again, just to Brian's point, by voting yes, we're taking public out of the, I'm sorry.
The way around.
Where the public will remain in the ordinance or is coming out of the ordinance?
If we
If we
vote,
vote yes, it's coming out.
correct.
Right.
If it,
If you vote yes, it comes out. If you vote no, it
Wait,
stays.
that doesn't make any sense. Wait, item 62 was to approve the charter amendment
without,
as drafted by the charter
no, without that item. That item, we split this into two separate items so that we could have a discussion just on the one item. So item 62 was a vote on the charter, the plan amendment committee's recommendations without this item, and then this is a vote just on this item, removing the word public.
So, okay, got it. I vote no.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
All right, the item does pass introduction.
So we said keep initial.
No, he voted no. No, on the vote, he said no. Everyone else said yes, he said no. So it passes 4-1.
Well, the minutes I would like the minutes to reflect that vote
No, he voted no.
Everybody else voted.
Everyone else voted yes. Well, there was,
We had to have discussion.
yeah, we
Well,
had that
Jim
discussion, so we didn't
misunderstood.
vote till,
And that's why he was trying to change it. That's why I was saying
no, it was,
Okay.
so the motion
So you
passed
have
4-1.
4 yeses and Singer's a no, correct?
right. So the motion was
No,
Well, the motion, there was a motion to put it, we had a motion and a second, then we had discussion, then we had a vote on the motion. Yeah, so that's fine. Anybody can put the motion forward.
Okay. That's what I was.
Well, I didn't, and that's, and Tammy, I appreciate you pointing that out. I think that would be, I misunderstood, and I apologize to the board and to staff, how 62 and 63 fit. I think it would be inappropriate for me to make a motion and I voted against. So, well, I'm glad you did that. Thank you. So, what I would just suggest is that, I don't want to make that motion. I thought that was to address the problem.
Is there
that I
anybody
saw.
else who would like to? I mean, the motion was made and seconded,
Okay,
but
thank
we
you.
could, okay, thank you.
we're good.
All right. Item 64, the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15550, authorizing the district to enter into a contract with Beck Ostrom Suite, whereby Beck Ostrom Suite will provide legal services for the collection of excess proceeds from properties sold at the St. Louis City and St. Louis County tax sale auctions. Is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
All right, we'll now move to resolutions. Starting with item 65, the adoption of Resolution 3617, expressing the Board of Trustees' appreciation to Craig R. Ballantyne for his 21 years of exemplary service to the district from June 7th, 1999 to his retirement effective October 1st, 2020. Is there a motion for adoption?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Item 66 is the adoption of Resolution 3618, expressing the Board of Trustees' appreciation to Willis A. Dilworth for his 40 years of exemplary service to the district from October 8, 1979 to his retirement effective October 1st, 2020. Is there a motion for adoption?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Item 67, the adoption of Resolution 3619, expressing the Board of Trustees' appreciation to Beverly Harris for her 19 years of exemplary service to the district from September 17, 2001 to her retirement effective October 1st, 2020. Is there a motion for adoption?
So moved.
Is there a second? Was there a second I missed?
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
And item 68, the adoption of Resolution 3620 to exercise option year 2 of a contract previously authorized by Ordinance 15032, adopted October 11, 2018, that authorized the district to enter into a contract with Milliman to provide actuarial services for the district's pension plan, defined contribution plan, deferred compensation plan, accrued sick leave program, vacation accrual, GASB 67 and GASB 68 pension accounting reporting, GASB 75 OPEB reporting, and consultant services. Is there a motion for adoption?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
All right, so we have one more item to bring before the board, and that is the vice chair elections. So we will, this is for the county members of the board to nominate and vote on a city board member to become vice chair. City members, you get to sit back and relax. So for the position of vice chair of the Board of Trustees, I now open the floor to the county-appointed trustees. Does any county trustee wish to nominate and second a city trustee for this position?
I'd like to nominate Mike Evans.
Okay, is there a second for Michael Evans?
Second.
Are there any other nominations and seconds? All right, hearing none, we will take a vote on the motion on the floor, which is to make Michael Evans the vice chair of the Board of Trustees. All county trustees in favor? Say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? All right, so the motion passes, and Michael Evans has been elected to serve as vice chair of the Board of Trustees through March 15th, 2021. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And now we have no further business.
No more business before us? Can I get a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
So moved. Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.
Get your documents, you can sign up for